The episode begins with a series of game notifications, all of which make comments about blank, that is the online game username and account shared by Sora and Shiro, as well as their own deaths. Following this, there is a battle between Queen and blank's 4 characters, who fight furiously against each other. Queen asks about their strength and starts to wonder how 4 players were able to beat 1200 gamers. Queen bombards the squad using a hack that allows her to cast overpowered spells indefinitely and repeatedly, but it is a failure as they avoid and beat her. The narrator refers to blank as an urban legend, explaining how they had gone unbeaten in over 280 separate games. They ultimately defeat their adversary after playing an outrageous chess game for a long time. They are then given another email requesting their opinion on their planet. The siblings term life is a crappy game. They are then asked how they would respond if they lived in a world with defined objectives and laws, and everything was decided by simple games. If there is a world like that, then we were born on the wrong planet, Sora responds. Upon their response, all of their screens turn distorted and static. They are then reborn in another universe, where the sender identifies himself as Tet and welcomes them to his planet, Disboard, and refers to himself as God. When Sora, Shiro, and Tet descend, Tet reveals to the siblings that games determine everything, including people's lives and national boundaries. Tet made the 10 pledges when he became the one true God, and they govern the planet. Tet explains the 10th pledge and then disappears. Sora and Shiro then get up, perplexed as a dragon rises from beneath the cliff they are standing on and flies away. They react by claiming that the game had crashed. A gang of men they had just vanquished in a game later explains the origins of Disboard to Sora and Shiro. After his explanation, one of the men suggests that they at least have some fun, given that they had most likely given away their clothing as well. As stated in the Will of the Last King, a tournament will be held to determine the future king. Stephanie Dola and Clamizel may be seen playing poker. An unknown woman explains the tournament to Sora and Shiro, telling them that Stephanie is the last king's granddaughter, and that she has joined the contest to become the future king. Sora approaches the woman and asks if she wants to compete in the competition. She responds by declaring that she has enough money, and Sora then challenges her to a poker match, in which the lady wagers her cash while Sora and Shiro offer their lives. After Sora describes their day to the woman, the two swear by the pledges and begins their game. The lady wins with a full house, but Sora wins with a royal straight flush, defeating the woman and winning her gold. Once they leave, Shiro tells Sora he cheated, but Sora keeps repeating pledge 8, and reminds her that because they were just not caught, it doesn't matter. Sora bargains with the innkeeper and ends up spending 4 nights for only 1 gold coin. When Sora and Shiro walk away, they discover Clammy is cheating, but don't know how. Sora whispers something into Stephanie's ear. Sora observes that when a hero reaches another realm, they typically wish to return home, and he wonders why. The episode concludes with Stephanie approaching their room and inquiring if she has permission to go in. Episode 2 Challenger. Sora and Shiro discover that the human kingdom of Elkia is in shambles, with the whole people contained in the final surviving city, after the previous monarch lost practically all of their land to neighboring kingdoms. The two team up with Stephanie Dola to battle Clamizel and preserve the humanity from doom. Sora entices Stephanie to play rock, paper, scissors. He informs her that he will only play with paper. If Sora wins, Stephanie will grant him one tiny favor. If Stephanie wins, she will discover how Clammy cheated. Stephanie attempted to outthink Sora but failed, allowing Sora to win the game. They came across Clammy in the corridor, and when she saw Stephanie's clothes, she returned the garments she had won in her and Stephanie's match. As Stephanie reached for them, Clammy dropped them and began criticizing her. When Stephanie began to cry, Sora reminded her that she was only proving Clammy right and returned the clothing to Clammy, informing her that she had won the garments and would keep them but not for long. Stephanie had discovered some fools, according to Clammy. Shiro informed Sora that he was having a great time and that it was much better than living in their former world. Sora promised Stephanie that they would show everybody that her grandpa wasn't an idiot, and he made a note on his phone as they proceeded down the corridor, stating that he was about to become king. Episode 3 Expert. Shiro, Sora, and Stephanie Dola made their way to the royal room. Their objective was to overturn Clamizel's coronation. Sora and Shiro confronted her about cheating and collaborating with the elves to gain her place on the throne. Sora attempted to persuade the subjects that the elf Phil Milvern was assisting Kurami in her victory, and by coronating her would be the same as giving humanity's fate over to the elves. Kurami, on the other hand, was too subtle to be so simply captured, much to the joy of Sora and Shiro. Considering how much they love a challenge, Clammy accepts their challenge. Kurami claimed the authority to pick the game because Blank was opposing the process. She tries to persuade them to quit at first, citing her reasons for standing with the elf, but they reject her. The game Clammy selected to play is an odd game of chess in which Sora plays a larger role than Shiro. Episode 4 Grandmaster. Sora and Shiro eventually defeat Clammy's L after several battles. They, however, cannot agree on who should be crowned king, and begin a series of endless games to determine who should be crowned. After more than a day, Sora realizes that having only one king was never necessary. This discovery effectively ends their competition. They are crowned Elchia Kingdom's king and queen. Later, they are confronted by Tet, who verifies that they will be able to compete against him for the title of one true god, if they can conquer all of the other exceed in the world, and thus obtain all of the chess pieces required for the difficult game. They cheerfully accept his challenge. Episode 5 Week Square. Sora and Shiro are having trouble finding details about their opponents while plotting their next move. Meanwhile, Stephanie feverishly attempts to beat them in games, only to be crushed and humiliated. Stephanie Dola was at her wit's end. Despite all the work she had invested in keeping the kingdom's political apparatus running, all Shiro and Sora seemed to do all day was laze around reading. After a while, they learned that Elchia's library, together with nearly all of its wisdom in books, was in possession of one of the Flugel, after winning it in a game from the previous king. They then resolved to confront the Flugel and reclaim the library. To teach them a lesson, Stephanie challenged Sora to a game of blackjack. She even secretly prepared a cheat. If she won, she stated he'd have to change his ways. However, of course, she didn't win, and her losing streak continued until she discovered the unpleasant reality. Not that she couldn't beat them, she should already have known that. No, she discovered what they'd truly been up to, and how near humanity was to total calamity. Episode 6 Interesting. Shiro and Sora challenged Jibril, a Flugel who used to slaughter gods in her younger days, to a game of materialization Shiratori, word connector, in No Game, No Life. Episode 6, Interesting, to get Elchia's library. But this was no ordinary game of Shiratori. It was materialization Shiratori, which meant that each legitimate term they used materialized or dematerialized if it was already existent. On one side of the war, we had a species with considerably greater intelligence than humans, and battle instincts developed over thousands of years. On the other hand, we had two NEETs whose strategies had developed in a matter of years, and for online video games. Episode 7 Sacrifice. Jibril is doing more than simply tolerating her new owners Shiro and Sora. She seemed to enjoy their pranks even if she didn't think much of other people like Stephanie Dola. The siblings struggled to devise a method to fight the Werebeasts when plotting their strategy against them. This is owing to the fact that if the Werebeasts challengers lost, their memory of the games would be wiped. Sora requested a full debrief from Jibril, expecting to learn a lot about the Werebeasts' gaming abilities. He was astonished to find that she had been defeated by the Eastern Federation, and had those memories of loss removed. It was their only chance. Sora had no further information sources. There was no way to win because the games were won with knowledge. Nevertheless, the siblings were at a loss until Stephanie entrusts Sora with the key left by the prior king, which unlocks the hidden door in her grandfather's bedroom, leading to his hidden studies on how to outsmart the Werebeasts. Episode 8 Fake End. Shiro and Sora decide to take the battle to the Eastern Federation, so they visit the Werebeasts' embassy with Stephanie Dola and Jibril. They issue a challenge to the Werebeasts. They encounter Ino and Izuna there. Sora and Shiro subsequently disclose that the Werebeasts cannot read thoughts, and can only determine whether or not someone is lying. They also disclose that the Werebeasts were able to win every game because they dared the other races to a video game. They gradually demonstrate to Ino Hatsus, the junior ambassador, and his granddaughter, Ambassador Izuna Hatsus, that the Werebeasts' mind-reading skill is a hoax. They also disclose that the Werebeasts were able to win every game since they challenged the other races to a video game. Furthermore, they explain that Blank has discovered the Werebeasts' super-secret game, and that Blank knows exactly and precisely what is required to beat it. The other races had little chance of winning, since they couldn't recall what game they played or why they lost. Sora and Shiro then bet the humanity race peace, implying that the fate of all humanity was at risk in this game. While Ino hesitates, Sora presents the ultimate enticement: humanity's racing component. Will this persuade the Warbus to join? Episode 9 Skywalk. In No Game No Life Episode 9, Skywalk, Shiro sought to come to grips with the reality in which Sora no longer lived. Shiro frantically explores the palace for Sora in an attempt to recall her brother. To her dismay, she is unable to locate Sora and begins to question his existence. It's not helping that neither Stephanie Dolan nor Jibril recall Shiro ever having a sibling. Jibril, who believes Sora is a ghost from Shiro's mind, challenges Shiro to a game of chess, using Shiro's memories of Sora as the wager. Jibril instructs Shiro to deliberately lose this game to set her mind at ease concerning Sora. Upon recovering consciousness, Sora then begins to tell his two demands for winning the game. First, he demands that each keeps a copy of the memories they stole from one another, while keeping their original memories. Second, he demands the ability to alter Field's memories. Shiro feels a weak emotion from Sora as she is ready to lose to Jibril. This motivates Shiro to win rather than throw the match against Jibril. Jibril, to her credit, does not presume Shiro is nuts. Worse, she believes Shiro played a game, maybe against the Eastern Federation, and lost, with the consequence being her having false memories. In the preceding 2 days, Sora had embarked on a war against Clamizel, in a peculiar game of Othello, enhanced by the magic of Feel Nervelin. The ability to get 2 requests from the other player was the wager for winning the game. Shiro completes and wins Sora's game of Othello, revealing all of the characters in the room. Episode 10 Blue Rose. After their preparations were completed and they had taken a bath together with their new allies, Clammy and Feel, the time came for Sora and Shiro to challenge the Werebeasts with the destiny of all of humanity at stake, accompanied by Jibril and Stephanie. But just when the game begins, the siblings fall into despair when they see themselves in a virtual city that resembles their homeland, to which the traumas of their past come to the surface, rendering them stunned. Episode 11 Killing Giant. After regaining their composure, Sora and Shiro approach Azuna with Jibril's assistance, but they quickly find that the game is rigged to the point where defeating the Werebeasts is nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Stephanie is simply being herself. Shiro is shot and taken under Azuna's control, and all hope appears to be lost. After discovering that she had been duped by Shiro and was in danger, Azuna began to enjoy a game for the first time in her life. She then chooses to use her unique power Blood Devastation to go all out on them. Episode 12 Rule Number 10. Azuna's whole might has surrounded Sora and Shiro, but just when she believes she has finally triumphed, she falls into their ultimate trap and is vanquished by none other than Stephanie. As a result, humanity wins the game. Sometime later, the brothers are summoned by the Werebeasts' leader, the Shrine Maiden Maiko, who wants a rematch with them, only to be persuaded to join their side and build the Elchia Federation by unifying the humanity and Werebeast regions into a single country. Sora and Shiro rekindle their resolve to unify all the races of Discord under their reign, and one day confront Tet for the title of one true god, while preparing for their future fights. But before they go, Sora uses Maiko as a conduit between them and the old Deus, the number 1 ranked Exceed, to inform them that the game has begun.